If I want to convert from milligrams to kilograms, can I convert directly there in one step, or do I need to go somewhere else in between? Does your chart tell you how many milli is in a kilo? Nope. So what's my middleman need to be? I need to go milligrams to grams, then grams to kilograms. Okay, I need to go milligrams to grams, grams to kilograms. You guys, all right, so we said we're going to have to go from milligrams to grams. If I want to get rid of milligrams, where does it need to go? On the bottom, milligrams to grams. Then I make this part of my chart true. So I look at my conversion sheet and I try to figure out how many milligrams are in 1 gram. What is it? 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. Now, are we having trouble finding where that is on our chart? 1 unit is equal to 1,000 milliunits, right? We're just substituting gram in for that unit. Okay? If I stopped right now, my units would be grams. But that's not what I want. I don't want to go all the way to kilograms.
So it's 1 unit, 1 gram?
You can substitute in grams for units, or you can substitute liters or meters, right? And all of them are on the back side for you to look at too, but you can substitute them in. Okay? Now I need to get rid of grams, so it goes on the bottom. Kilogram is what I'm trying to get to, so it goes on the top. And then I just fill in my numbers to make this true as well. Okay, what do you think I need to put in my numbers here? Which is my larger unit? Kilogram gets the 1, and then how many of my smaller unit are in there? 1,000. Okay, so now I get to cancel. Grams is canceled, and I'm left with kilograms, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so now I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to multiply across the whole top, divide by the whole bottom, divide by 1,000, and then divide by 1,000. Do I need to multiply by 1? No. All right, so in my calculator, it came out to be 1.422 times 10 to the negative 4. That's what your calculator means when it says E, negative 4. It means times 10 to the... Is anyone's calculator saying have a little E there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what that means, times 10 to the... Another acceptable answer would be 0.0001422. Those are the same numbers. One's just in scientific notation and one is not. Okay, and what would be my units that go on the end of my number here? Kilograms. Good, because that's what I was converting to. You don't need to have both of these answers. They are the same number. You don't need to represent both of them. You just have to show me one. Okay, I'm just showing you both so that if your calculator put in scientific notation, you see it both ways. Okay? So you only need one of those answers. They're the same number. Okay, questions with that conversion? All right. Let's try this one. How many centimeters are in 0.48 kilometers? How many centimeters are in 0.48 kilometers? All right, we're going to start with what we know, which is 0.48 kilometers. Can I go directly from kilometers to centimeters? What's my middleman need to be? Kilometers to meters, then meters to centimeters. Okay, I like to map out that path. Okay, I like to figure out where I need to go before I start on the chart. Okay, so I'm going to go from kilometers to meters, and then meters to centimeters. Do you see how I'm putting those units in, and I'm kind of letting the units lead? Right? I need to get rid of kilometers, so it needs to go on the bottom in the denominator. I want it to go to meters, so that's where that goes. Then I have to do another step that gets rid of meters and goes to centimeters. So do you see how I'm putting my units in first? Then I just go back in and add the numbers, okay? For meters and kilometers, which is my larger unit? Kilometers is my larger unit. How many meters are in there? 1,000.
Wait, you don't just put the largest on top?
No. Nope. Okay, so in the last couple, we put the largest on bottom and we put the 1 on top. We always have to go with what the units say. So 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. And then 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. Okay? And so if we just think about my question here, how many centimeters are in a half of a kilometer? Should my number end up being really big? Should my answer end up being really big?
No.
Yeah, because I want to find out how many centimeters are in half a kilometer. Half a kilometer is like a mile and a half, right? So if we're no, not a mile and a half. I'm thinking of a 5K. Half a kilometer is what? 500, over a lap on the track, right? That's what we're thinking about here, 500 meters roughly. So we should have a lot of centimeters in there, okay? So I'm going to go 0.48 times 1,000 times 100, and I get 48,000 centimeters. Centimeters is just 100. I got 48,000. Is that what everyone else got when they plugged it in? 48,000? Okay. Any questions with that? We want to check after we do our conversion, does our answer seem reasonable? And I think it does, right? The number of centimeters in that many kilometers should end up being a really large number. Okay. Why don't you try this next one here on your own? Kilometers to nanometers. Kilometers to nanometers. Did anyone have their chart set up, something like that? Similar to that?
Centimeters to millimeters to micrometers.
All right. So the thing is, we don't have to hit everything on our chart because everything on our chart takes us back to the simple unit. So let that be your only middleman. There's no need for me to hit centimeters and decimeters and all that kind of stuff. I don't need to do that. And my chart doesn't tell me how many centimeters are in a millimeter or vice versa. It tells me about the simple unit. So it relates everything back to meters. So that needs to be my middleman. Okay? Now, here's what I want to ask you. How would you plug this into your calculator? So times 10, and then do you do the little caret thing and put the exponent in? Okay, I'm gonna teach you how to use your calculator with scientific notation. Okay, because here's the reality. If I use my calculator and enter 1 times 10, and then I do the little caret, and then I put the 9 in, that works. But if it has to be on the denominator, my calculator will do order of operations how it knows how to do order of operations, and that could mess up your calculation if you're not really careful with parentheses and all that extra stuff. So your calculator has a scientific notation function, and I want to teach you how to use that. So I need you to have your calculators out if you have that, okay? On my calculator, the scientific notation function is a second function, which means I have to hit the yellow button before I can get it there, okay? And it's right here. Do you see this little comma right here above the 7, and above that button, it's 2 capital E's? Even if your calculator doesn't look like mine, if it's a Texas calculator, it will have that function, okay? So above it says EE, okay? If I'm going to plug in scientific notation, I'm going to hit 1 second EE. Okay, and then on my calculator right now, it should just read 1 with 1 capital E. Is that where we're at right so far? Okay, and then after that, I put in the 9, the exponent. So that E means times 10 to the. It does it all for you. Times 10 to the. If you hit enter, it'll expand that number out of scientific notation. Now, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to do that. So, millimeters to micrometers. Does your chart tell you anywhere how many micrometers are in a millimeter?
Yeah.
1 million.
It tells me how many are in a meter, not a millimeter. So the middleman here, even though they're both smaller than a meter, I'm still going to convert them to my basic unit and then back. That way I don't have to try to do the math to figure out how many micros is in a milli. Does that make sense? When in doubt, just convert to your simple unit and then go back. So this chart's going to look a little bit different, okay? We would go 23.3 millimeters. Millimeters to meters. Meters to micrometers, okay? If you can just rationalize how many micrometers are in a millimeter, by all means, just do that. But it's difficult to do that. So I'm just going to convert with exactly what I'm given on my sheet, okay? And that means I'm going to go ahead and put my numbers in here. 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. And then 1 meter is equal to 1 times 10 to the 6th, or 1,000,000 micrometers. So in this case, I don't have both my big numbers on the top or both my ones on the bottom or vice versa. I don't have that pattern. It's all about the units. So let the units lead and then put in the numbers that you need to go with them. All right, so let's try this in the calculator. 23.3 times 1e to the 6. All right, I'm going to multiply across the whole top, and then I hit enter. And then I hit divide by 1,000. I get 23,300 micrometers. Okay. Micrometers is a smaller unit, so it should make sense to us that our number's coming out bigger.
233,000.
Did you take it times 1 times 10 to the 6th?
Yeah.
I'm afraid something's not going right with your calculator in the scientific notation.
23.3 times 1e6.
23.3 times 1e6. Then you got to divide by 1,000. There we go. What's the information we have to know first?
How many days are I'm just saying it's right a day?
How many days are in
We need to know how many days are in a leap year.
366.
366. Okay, very good. If I would have polled the class, would most of you have known that? 50-50. Yeah, no. Okay. If it was multiple choice, you would have got it? Okay, so we start with what we know, which is 366 days. Now, what's my path have to be to go from days to seconds? Days to hours, hours to minutes, then minutes to seconds. Know what I'm saying? Well, we're not converting with meters. We know the things for time, right? Because we're not using prefixes. You're right. On the prefixes, we do want to go base unit if we can. But we don't, this is just time, so we know those conversions. So we're going to go days to hours, hours to minutes, and minutes to seconds. Before we even do the math, should we be expecting our answer here to be really big or really small? Really big, because it's number of seconds in a whole year, right? A whole leap year. So let's go ahead and plug our numbers in here. Between days and hours, which is the larger unit? Days, right? How many hours are in one day? 24, right? When I ask about larger unit, right, I'm basically asking who's going to get the 1, right? Between minutes and hours, which is larger? Hours, because how many minutes are in an hour? 60, right? And then there is 1 minute and 60 seconds. Now, could I write them the other way? Could I say 1 hour is equal to 1/24th of a day? Yeah, I could do that. That would be ridiculous. Why would I do that, right? I'm always going to tell me how many of the smaller things go in the bigger thing. But this would still technically be true. Okay, so we multiply across the whole top, divide by the whole bottom, which is just ones in this case. So times 60 times 60. That gives me a value of about 316,22400. So 31,622,400 seconds. You got something different? 366 times 24 times 60 times 60? It doesn't matter. This is where I had 0.1097 meters.
I did it through centimeters.
Yeah, same. I got.
That's what I did.
I got the same thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah, look, I did it both ways.
I see it now.
I showed you both paths you could go.
Yeah.
Okay? And I got the same answer both ways.
I got 0.108. We can solve the whole problem.
Let's do grams to pounds. So I'm starting with what I know. 4.3 pounds. Talk me through my path to go from pounds to grams. Check your conversion chart to figure out what should I use to go from pounds to grams. I can go from pounds to kilograms, then kilograms to grams. I would agree. The other way I could go is I could go pounds to ounces and ounces to grams, if you wanted to. Don't you have the conversion on your sheet between ounces and grams? But the problem is you would have to know how many ounces are in a pound. Do you know that? 16. Yep. Okay, so you can go either path. I'm going to walk this one. Pounds to kilograms. Kilograms to grams. Okay, tell me what numbers need to go into my pounds and kilograms. 1 kilogram is what? 2.2 pounds. And then 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So I multiply across the whole top, divide by the whole bottom.
I kind of messed it up, but I think I might be able to salvage it. I did 1 gram first.
Now, you're not going to be able to salvage it because then you would just be converting how many pounds are in 1 gram. But that's not what it's asking you.
Right.
You always have to start with what we know.
Yeah.
Okay?